There we go. Today we're going to be doing 4 different things. And when you're doing your homework, you are going to want to and need to look at your notes to make sure you're answering the question that's being asked. Please put your foot down and put your knees on your desk. Thank you. Okay? There are 4 specific things that are being asked of you. You have to verify you're doing it right. Last period, when we were working on the homework, people kept coming up and be like, I don't know what to do here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I just scrolled through the notes and I said, oh, that part says, show how to do a decimal to percent. And I showed that and they're like, oh. They went back to their seat and they knew how to do it. So in order to go decimal to percent, what you're going to do is you're going to multiply the number by 100, as in moving it 2 decimal places to the right. And don't forget to add the percent sign. So for example, I'm going to take this 35 right here, and I have 0.35. I'm going to take the decimal, and I'm going to move it to the right 1, 2 spots. So now I have 35%. And yes, I wrote something, so you should write that. Same situation here. We have 2.5 became 250% because we moved the decimal point We moved the decimal point 2 to the right. It was an L. 1, 2, but we had to have a 0 there. Let's get that out of there. Draw, erase. So it was 2.5. We had to go 1, 2, which makes a 0 go there, and that comes out to be 250%. Okay. Then this one here, we have 52 10,000ths, and we move it over twice. It goes 1, 2 into that spot, which becomes 52%. Go 2 different spots. Yes, ma'am. 0.5. What did I say? Oh, 52 hundredths of a percent. So 0.52%. Any questions? If you have a repeating decimal in this situation, you can keep the bar notation or change the decimal into fractions. For example, we have 0.3 repeating becomes 33.3 repeating percent, or 33 1/3%. Things to remember for this whole unit are that 2/3 is equal to 6.6 repeating. Okay? 2/3 is actually 0.6 repeating. This is just general. 0.6 repeating. 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. All right, that's just to remember. And then those are going to happen. I can almost guarantee it. You'll see it on the test because it happens in a little bit here. So independent examples, we're going to do this together. I'm going to zoom in and get real close like. So independent examples. We have to move the decimal. Is it to the left or to the right to go from a decimal to a percent? Move it to the right, exactly. And if you needed to verify that, what you do is you look up at your notes and be like, oh, move it 2 places to the right. Yeah. So I go 1, 2. Now I have 0.4%. Circle that bad boy. Over here, once again, I'm going to move it 1, 2. So now I have 132%. I'm going to just do number 4 because it's right here. I move it 1, 2, 237%. That's exactly what people thought until they had to do it themselves. Yes? Well, of course it is. We always do stuff that you have on your homework. Yes, this is exactly like some of the questions of your homework. just like all the examples are that we ever do, are always of stuff of what you have on homework. So now we have to move this guy. 2 becomes 3.5%. Now we have the second one, which is fraction 2%. Before I move along, are there any questions about what we just did? Okay. First, what we have to do is write the fraction as a decimal by dividing the numerator by the denominator. That's what we had for homework on Friday. All this builds on each other. We're going to multiply by 100 and move the decimal 2 places to the right. So this was Friday. That was 5 minutes ago. And it says don't forget to add the percent sign. So we're ending up with the percent, so the ending should have the percent sign. If you have a repeating decimal, you can use bar notation or change the decimal to a fractions. Oops. To a fractions. So 3/16. What is the first step that we have to do according to what it just said? Yes, Ian. Divide the numerator by the denominator. So I have 16. I'm going to make this thinner. I have 16 as the divisor and 3 out there. Right away, I know that 3 doesn't go into it, so I have to move my decimal up. I know this goes in just once because 32 is it twice. So 140. I know that it can't be 10 because 160 times 10, 16 times 10 is 160. It can't be 9 because that's just 142, so it has to be 8. So I have to do 16 times 8. And this is just like what we did last night. So close. So I know it's going to have to be 7. And 16 minus 128 is going to be 112. Still going. But I know that 80 is a fraction of 16 multiplied by stuff is 80 because 8 times 10 is 80. So 16 times 5 is 80. Yay. Am I done? Woohoo! Woohoo! I'm just going to keep moving on. Yeah! I'm done. No. Yes, we have to multiply by 100 because what are they asking for? They're asking for a percent. So I have to take this number here, move the decimal place, whoop, whoop, there. So I get 18.75%. 18.75%. All right. Number 2. It's just division. Oh, you got it. Here, tell you what. I'll give you a copy of this when we're done, okay? So you can see how we did it. How did it go with the homework last night, by the way? Okay? Okay. Like I said, I'll enter that grade a little bit differently than how you have it because they teach it different where you are from. So, next one we have to do, the first thing is make it into a decimal by dividing. Yeah, I'm going to put a decimal point right here. To put a decimal point right here, going like that is 0. Go ahead and put that right there. So I know that 5 times 12 is 60. So that's going to be pretty close to 70 without going over. So I'm going to go ahead and put that number there right there. I'll leave a 10. I'm going to make another 0 so I can bring that down. 100. So I know that 12 times 8 is going to be, let's see, 80 plus 16, which is, yeah. 80 plus 16. Uh-huh. Yes, 96. Good. 96 is a 4. Still don't go into it. Goodness gracious. Then we have 40. That only goes in 3 times. So 3 times 12 is 36. Oh boy. I see something that's repeating itself. That tells me something that I gotta do. Do. I'm going to get the rest. Yes, sir. It is. And I'll give the instructions for the homework with that. So I know that this is going to be repeating like that. So I have 0.58, 3 repeating. I know it's repeating because I have the same remainder, and I can only do with 3s from that point. So it's repeating. So stop. Now I have to go whoop, whoop, move the decimal over twice. I could also represent that like this, 58 1/3%. Yes, ma'am. Nope. There's not a way that I'd rather you do it. As far as you representing it as a repeating fraction. So whatever way you could like. I'm just going to do this one right now because it's right there. So now I'm going to do 40 over 3. I know that it doesn't go into 30. And I know that it doesn't go into, or that it will go into 300. So I'm going to put a 0 right here as well. So 4 times 7 is 280. So 40 times 7 is 280. Did I say 4 times 7 is 280? Yeah. 4 times 7 is 28. So 40 times 7 is 280. So 40 times 7, 280. I have a remainder. I have to make another 0. Now we have 20, and this one's going to be nice and pretty. 5 times 40 is 200. Yay. Whoop, whoop. Move it over 2. So I have 7.5%. So 5/4. Right away, you should be able to recognize that that's just 1.25. 5/4, you should recognize that that's 1.25. This is one of those easier ones that as long as you show what I'm going to show you right now, okay, so you know that that would equal to be 1 1/4, which is going to be 1.25. You move the decimal over 2 spots, and you have 125%. Next one, percent to decimal. Percent to decimal. Divide by 100 and remove the 2 places to the left. Ding, 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 ding. Look at that. Left. Izquierda. Close. Left. Examples. 86% just becomes 0.86. 155% becomes 0.155. Sorry, 1.55. 16%, still 2 sections to the left. And here's the way that I used to remember how to do this when I was a kid. I shall show you the ways of young Scott Smith, future math teacher. So, let's say 50, let's go 22%. What I would do is this is how I'd remember where it goes. I have 1 0 that goes in front, another 0 that goes in front, and I have my new decimal right here. 22% becomes 0022, or 22 10,000ths. You see that? All I did is just took the percent sign and moved them over. Okay, that's how I did that as a kid. Yeah, yes. These powers, use them for good. All right, continuing on. If the percent contains a fraction, let's see, where are we? There. Change the fraction into a decimal before dividing by 100. For example, you have 0.5%. You want to make that into a decimal before you go move the fraction or move the decimal point. So if you're going to be moving the decimal point, are there decimals in fractions? Don't think about your homework grades. But in any fraction, should there be decimals? No, those are two opposite things. Okay? That's like having dry water or wet dryness. Okay? No, they're two opposites. They're mutually exclusive. So you need to have it be 0.5%. If you need to change where the decimal is going to be, you have to make it a decimal. You have to create a decimal. Okay, remember this is still a percent until you divide it by 100. So for the first step, it says the first thing we have to do to go percent to decimal. Okay, good. Percent to decimal is make it into a decimal. Let's change it to view 200. 93%. Let's make that into a, let's see, divide by 100. So we have 93 divided by 100. And we have 93 hundredths. Yeah. 93 hundredths was just this. I'm going to put a 0 on front so I know exactly what's up. Okay? Now I'm going to take away these zeros and have the decimal point be moved over. 1 and 2. So it becomes 1.27, sorry, no percent. Make this smaller. And once again, I have 0.4. I'm going to move it 1 and 2 over. So now I have 0.004%. Not percent. Silly. Stop that. And I have to move the decimal to the left, to the left, to the left, to the left. 2 spots. So I have 42 or 0.427. 0.427. I'm going to put a 0 in front so I know what's up. Is that all of them? Yeah. Finally, percent. Change the percent to a decimal before changing it into a fraction. Simplify fraction if necessary. For example, we have 48%. We do what we just did before to make it 0.48. Then we have 48 hundredths because that's how you say 0.48 out loud. You say 48 hundredths. Exactly. And when you say that, you could write it as a fraction or a decimal, but we're trying to find a fraction. Speaking of, some of you are trying to look around to see people, I'm putting it back into the pods because that is much better for seeing the board. Okay? A lot of my other classes, I have some of the smaller people sitting behind some of the bigger people. Okay? Then we simplify the fractions 12/25. Example 2, we have 225%. We move the decimal place over 1, 2, and you get 2.25. We have 225 over 100, or you could have, look at it like this, 225 over 100, which is the same as 225 over 100. And that simplifies to, as it says right above it, 21/4. And that could even be further simplified to being 5 1/4. All right. Independent examples. For 36%, the first thing that it tells us to do is move the decimal place over 0.36. So we have 36 hundredths. So that can be 36 hundredths, which is equal to, we're gonna reduce. And I'm thinking, what goes into is 36? Does that go into 4? No. Well, okay. When you look at this, what's the most obvious thing that it goes into? 2. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce it by 2. So I have What would that be? 18 over 50. Look, we have even numbers again, so what can it reduce to? Good. Reduce it by 2 again, 9 over 25, and those two don't have any common factors, so that's the correct answer for that one. And because of navigation, I'm just going to do the second one now. Or the third one, rather. Yep, this one comes out to be 1.25 because I'm moving the decimal place over 2. Next thing I have to do is make it into a fraction. I have 125 hundredths. I can reduce that by 25, can't I? I'm going to reduce it by 25. There are 5 25s in the top one, 4 25s in the bottom, and that comes out to be 1 1/4. Lastly, these two, 31 1/2. 31 1/2 becomes 31.5%. Move the decimal place over 2, which is 315 batting average. Bring this down here. Yeah, it is. Especially this late in the season. Shoot. So I have 315 thousandths. 315 thousandths. Don't put that over 100. Do not put that over 100 because there aren't just hundredths, there are thousandths there. So I have 315 thousandths. And this is from Thursday, I believe. Yeah. Are you holding his lead hostage or what's going on? How did he have your lead anyway? Stop taking his stuff. That's it. I'm going to do the upside down ladder method. Okay? Yes. You can divide them both by 5, and I know that 5 times 60 is 300. And there are 3 more sets of 5 above that. Is there anything that goes into 63 and 200? Think of the factors of 63. 7, 9, 3. Okay, are 7, 9, and 3 factors of 200? No, so we can't do it. So that is going to be 63 200ths. And lastly, finally, at the beginning, ooh. I did not mean for that to sound like that. At the beginning of class, I told you to remember something about 2/3. What do you need to remember? Yes? You just forgot. Okay, you forgot to remember. Who haven't I heard from today? Tamaya. Oh. 0.6 repeating. So that means that this is going to be 66.6 repeating percent. 66.6 repeating percent. And we need to get that into a fraction. So that's a percent. I need to move it over to the left. Yes? Good. 0.6 repeated. And, Jessica, what is 0.6 repeated from class today? Close. 2/3. Oh, I think you said 3/4. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. I read lips and I looked the other way. 2/3. So we are not doing all of the assigned papers on this 9-7 practice. When you get this, I expect you to write what you have on the screen down. 3, 4. And that is it for the video. Happy Monday, yay.